In this screencast, we're going to create a DB data source asset, which we're going to use to connect to Matrix itself, and that'll form the basis of an API for Matrix. So this does require the Squiz supported version of Matrix, so not the GPL version, and Squiz have kindly provided me a Squiz supported version for me to use for this demonstration. So the first thing we want to do is create a DB data source asset, which is under data sources, DB data source. I'm going to call this one Matrix API. Okay, now on the details screen, there's some various settings that you need to set here, and this is quite dependent on your particular installation. So I'm going to give you just the basic walkthrough, but you may need to consult whoever set up your Matrix system or your DBA in order to get these details right. So I'm just logged into the machine that's running this local version of Matrix, and a couple of places I'll give you hints on where to look for these connection details. The first one is the db.inc. So that's in your Matrix installation directory, and then under data private conf db.inc. So if we just edit that file, we can see here we've got the DSN, which you could potentially just paste into Matrix here. We've got the user that we need to use, and obviously the database type. So there's some basic details which will help you get started if you have access to this file at all. Another place to look for issues is the Postgres HPA.conf file, which depending on your installation can be in different locations. In this Ubuntu version it's under Postgres 8.3 main PGA HPA.conf, which is under the etc directory. So we have a look at that. Towards the bottom it mentions different permissions. So what I've had to do in this case is for local connections just trust all. So I don't believe you can actually specify a single user here, because Matrix connects with both a primary and a secondary database connection, so it does have two different users that it uses to connect to. So what I've done is just trusted all local connections, and it's actually that one down there. So whenever we're accessing it on the local machine, that's fine. You may, if you have a separate database, have a separate entry there for that connection, but you might just need to tweak those depending on what's allowed. And once you do tweak those, you need to restart Postgres for those to take effect. So I know what those details are in advance, so I'll just go through and populate these. So the username was matrix_ssv. I don't believe there's a password set. The database name was mysource_matrix_ssv. The host name, it's just the local machine that's running Matrix as well. So it's just 127.0.0.1. And we won't put it in the DSN because we've put in these details here. So once we commit that, we really don't get much feedback as to whether the connection's been successful or not. The best way to probably test that is to go to the query builder, and then just to insert a basic query to begin with. This one's fairly safe to do, even on a production system, but as I've recommended, you're best off trying these things on a development system to begin with. So select star from sq_asset limit 10. And so what we're doing there is we're selecting all the fields or columns from this SQAsset table, which contains, as you'd imagine, the basic details of an asset. And we're limiting it to 10 because if you've got millions of assets, we don't want to select them all, we just want the first 10. So once I commit that, if we're successful, what you'll get here is available keywords. So it's picked up that these are all the fields that the database is returning, so we know that's been a success. But also under here, under the actual asset itself, you get all the different data source record set assets, they're called, which are basically each row that's returned from our results there. And so on the detail screen we also have all the details of each asset that you need. So we know that we've successfully connected. If you don't, I'm just going to take you through a couple of small things you can do to diagnose what's going on. And we do need a terminal for that one. So once you're logged into your Matrix system, what we can then do is change the user to Postgres. Again, this does actually vary between operating systems, but this is the Ubuntu or Debian style system. So what we're going to do is just log in as the Postgres user. Okay, Now within that we can actually connect to our database, and I should have this in my history here. That's not exactly what I wanted. There we go. So what I'm doing here is just running a command called psql, which is just a Postgres command. The -d signifies that we want to connect to a database called mysourcematrix_ssv. So we'll just hit into there. Then we've basically just got a Postgres prompt. You can type /h and you get a whole bunch of commands that you can run in there. /dt is probably one that you'll be interested in, which just gives you an entire list of all the tables that are in there. But one of the reasons I wanted you to connect in this way is that you can actually execute your queries here that you could execute on the query builder screen. So one of the problems that might happen is your syntax is slightly off and therefore you're not getting any results returned. So one way to diagnose the problem if you're not getting any results back from your API asset is to actually run the command directly in here. So what we were running before was select star from sq_ast limit 10 semicolon. So once we run that, we can see that we do have some results in there. So that's probably the first step to diagnose the problem there. The other one that you can do before you actually get into Postgres is to double check that you can actually connect to your Postgres database from where you are. So what we were actually doing in the previous screen was we were connecting to the mySourceMatrix database, mySourceMatrix SSV I should say, but we're also connecting to a host of 127.0.0.1, and we can see I can still connect in that way. So also if you're having some permission problems, you can use this psql command to specifically connect to the database that you need to. And if you're getting error from this prompt, then obviously you're also getting an error from Matrix. So now that we've connected, next step will be to look at some more advanced things that we can do with the Matrix API.